What you're going to need is a spool of regular thread. Any color will do, but I have white. Something like this, if you have it. These can be bought at craft stores. Some scissors. Some all-purpose labels. And any old material that you don't want. These happen to be a pair of pants that were bought for me. They're not really my style, and although they fit, I don't really like wearing them, and I don't want to throw them out. I like the material. So there's that. The first thing that you do, of course, is cut out a chunk of the material. And you don't have to worry about it being even right now. But in order to maximize the amount of material you can get out of any given thing, just try and do your best. Now, as you can see, there's this little hem here. We're not going to need that like at all ever, so cutting that out is the next part. And then the bottom of the pants will cut all along there. Now you can do this with anything. You don't have to do it with pants. You can even go out and buy materials if you like. But this particular material has a velvety kind of nice feeling that I like. And while I'm cutting, I'll just give you some examples of what it is that you can use these for. I use them as bags to put gemstones and rocks and stuff like that in. But you could use them for buttons or things like that. You don't have to have any one specific purpose for it. Okay, we've got a nice little bit here. And as you can see, it rolls up, so you do have to make sure that it's set. Okay, what you want to do is fold over a good piece of material and try and judge just what it is you do want to put in it. You don't want to make too small of a bag and then not be able to put anything in it. So I know what I'm going to put in it. I'm going to put in a piece of peacock ore, and that looks about right. I'm going to be cutting this in half again, so it won't be as wide, but fold over your piece of material so that at least one side lines up like this, and then cut this part off here. Okay, and the next thing, the piece of ore is not all that big, so I'm going to cut this in half, and this means that I'll have this side also for a second bag if I want to sew one up later. So we cut like this, and voila. Okay, we've got that. Now, if you're working with a material that you can tell the front and the back, like if you can't tell, the front of this has kind of a velvety feel, but the back doesn't. It's just a plain material. What you want to do is place the front on the inside. Just turn it inside out. Now we're going to sew it inside out, because then the seam will be hidden on the inside. And if I can find that gem bag, you can't really see the seam on this. But if I were to take the stones out and turn it inside out, you can see where it's been sewn before. So just to keep things neat and tidy, that's why we're going to sew it inside. And it does give it kind of a nicer, pretty look to it. Now this is a little bit thinner at top than I really would have wanted it, but it is an open bag. So okay, we take this, and of course all safety precautions taken. Make sure you're careful when you're threading the needle. Actually, I would highly suggest that you invest in some 1-second needles, the ones where you just loop up, pull through. But if you can't get it, fine. Anybody can do this. You don't have to know how to sew. But of course, you just take it, you knot the end of it, and you pick it up, and you can start from the bottom or the top. It doesn't really matter. But I like to start from the bottom. And I don't know any sewing terms, but what we're going to do is we're going to keep going under. We're not going to go kind of serpentine through. That'll kind of give it a little bit of a tighter way of doing it. And when you're doing the serpentine sort of stitch, you always have the problem of tightening up the material too much. Also, if you notice, when you're working with thread that's too long, it will tend to bunch up on you, so you do have to go a little bit slower. Okay, so we're almost finished with the sewing, and I didn't tell you how to finish off the stitch because I just wanted to leave it for the last side. It doesn't take too long. It takes maybe about 2.5 minutes per side if you work quickly but carefully. If you're working on a sewing machine, it's going to take a lot less time than that, trust me. But what you want to do is you want to stick as close to the very edge as possible without risking to breaking the edges of the material. So if you break the edge of the material, the stitch is going to come out, and then you've been working for nothing. And the last thing you want is for the stitch to come loose, so that somewhere down here on the sides of the bag you end up with a hole that the stone that you put in, or whatever it is you put in, is going to pop through. So, alright, I'm up here at the top now, and obviously because we're making a gem bag and not some sort of a little pillow, we're not going to stitch up the top, but you can see that it is a little bit narrower than I would have liked. But that's okay. I mean, this isn't a perfect job or an exact science or anything. I didn't do any measuring. This is just a quick job. And what you want to do in order to finish this off is first make sure everything's even. And every now and then you may have to do this. Just stop and run your finger through. Put a couple of good stitches in the same place. Pull tight, not tight enough to snap it, of course. Now, in that same place that you've been working on, pull until there's a loop, and then draw the needle. Well, as you can see, I keep screwing up sometimes, but okay, again. Draw the needle up through the loop so that you can stitch in a knot. And do this a couple of times just to get yourself a good steady knot. Okay, now we're pretty much done with this thread here, and clip so that there's just a little bit of thread sticking up. That way, if it does come loose, it at least has a little bit of slack before it actually comes out and starts unraveling. Now, of course, always make sure that you put your needles back somewhere. You don't want to be putting them in the bed like a big pin cushion and then lose sight of it. And then all of a sudden you sit on it and you have a needle in your butt. And you take this and turn it inside out. Again, quick job, that sort of thing. And we are left with this, with a very, very nice looking seam right there. And this probably would have taken me a lot less time if I wasn't trying to do a video on this, but because I want to show people how to do this, you know. Okay, the next thing you want is this. And I forgot I didn't cut this. This stuff is extremely hard to lead through a needle, so the last thing you want is for it to come off. Now, with standard sewing that I do, it's always doubled through. This side would be pulled all the way even with this side. But with something like this, you don't need it doubled. All you need it is single. But you don't want this pulled all the way to the end like this, because one sharp tug, that thing's going to come out, and it's going to take you about 10 minutes in order to get the thread back through, unless you have a 10-second needle. So make sure you have a good amount pulled through, knot the end of it, and make sure that the knot stays. And what we're going to do is, unlike the over and under for the side seams, we're going to go serpentine with this one. And starting from one seam here, you just go in, and make sure you push in first. Don't start with drawing the needle from the outside in. Go from the inside out. Push the needle from the outside in. This leaves this side for you to be able to draw the string through. And just pull that through. And you don't want to pull it through all the way. You don't want it up flush like this. You want to leave about that much I would say. So, like that, and then choose a pretty good distance. Make sure you're not going to end up crossing and knotting up. And pull through like this, and you don't want to pull tight, just pull it enough so that on the inside here there's not too much slack. You can't even see the thread, honestly. There's not too much slack here. You don't want to see too much daylight between the needle and the fabric. So that's what we're going to do all the way around. And we still have plenty of string left over. Pull it just a little bit. This is going to tighten it up, but what you want is you just want to make sure that there's not a ton of string left over here at the end. Pair this up, take your scissors, and snip. Now, the easiest way to knot it is to draw it closed like this, and just sort of squinch it through, pull it, open up the bag, and open it as wide as you can just to make sure that the stitching is holding and to make sure you have enough room to at least be able to do this. You don't want the string so small that it pulls straight against. And again, needle safety, put this back. Actually, we're going to be needing this. I almost forgot. Put another knot in it. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to draw this down through this corner right here. Oh, wrong side. That corner right there. And this is actually pretty easy. Just kind of poke along the seam until you find it, until it kind of pops out of the corner here. And there we are. Just pull that up and through and cut it about, I don't know, this much. That ought to do it. And you take one of these. There's 3 on here. They don't need to be this big. So you can just cut it in half. Okay. Peel this off. And obviously the sticky side, put the string right here with just a little bit that pokes out, just to make sure that you're not gonna, you know, pull it through on accident, and stick it down there real tight. Then just double this over, meet the ends, and pinch. And now you have a handy little tag that if you want to hang these up on a wall or something like that, all you have to do is write the name of the stone on each side of the tag. And these are portable. You don't have to carry around a big case in order to carry around a few gems. You can put more than one in it if you want to carry around a set, or you can just keep one in and, you know, hang them up. If you use them for, you know, Wiccan stuff, works like that, yada things and stuff. And we're pretty much done.